Hi, welcome to this episode. Here we're going to start styling our web pages. Finally, we're going to have that beautiful page we've been waiting for. So as we said in the previous video, we are going to use CSS to make that happen. And we had a glimpse of what CSS is and how it affects our pages. So we applied some small stars to see how it looks like, and particularly we colored our heading, which is the site's name, and then our menu. So the first thing I would like to underline before we continue is that you will notice that it does not apply to the rest of the pages. So on the about page we see that the formatting, so remember this is a term we're going to use now, the formatting did not apply on these pages. So as you could see, so to make that happen, obviously we have to bring the link to the CSS file on other pages. So basically, if I bring the link here, that's on our about page. So if I bring the link and I save the file and then go to the about page, you can see the styling applies here as well. So if I go to works, it is not applied, and then I have to do the same thing on the works page. So we paste the link, and then we do the same for the contact page. We paste the link. Now when we refresh, we can see it is styled, so the formatting is applied. Contact, the same thing. So this is the first thing you always need to make sure of, that all your pages are linked with the CSS file, because all the CSS we are going to write now for all pages is going to be located inside this file. But nonetheless, you don't always have to use the same file for all the web pages, but it is good practice to have one file for all the pages. Although you can have a different CSS file for a different page, but that will become very difficult to maintain over time, and it will not give you the opportunity to have a consistent design. And if you have to have a consistent design, it means the style you have in the CSS file of one HTML document, you have to copy it on any other page on which you want to have the same style. So that can become very difficult to maintain. So it is good practice to have one CSS file for all the documents. So in the document, you will know now how to make the differences on the pages. So that being said, let's start styling our document. So this also means that at this point, whatever we style on one page, if there's any element of the other pages on other pages, that element will also be affected unless we make an exception. So I want you to pay attention to that aspect. You see, when we start the heading one on all the pages, wherever there's heading one, that style will be applied. So we'll discover throughout this video how we can make the differences from time to time. So if that happens, so the first thing I would like us to take care of is the menu. So we'll start from the menu and make it look like we planned, so like our design. So have the title here and then the navigation at the right side. So how do we do that? First of all, let me clear the style file and bring it fresh. Right, so I clear this existing style so nothing goes on. Then first of all, you need to look at the navigation, the menu, so how the tags are structured. In our case, I can see that we have the header tag which plays the role of a wrapper, so it wraps the other two tags, so the heading one and then the nav. So with that structure, I could instruct the header tag to become a flex container. So what we call a flex container is a container is an element that contains other elements that can receive the same star at once. So what that does is, so I scroll down here, so we take the container, so whatever container we see, then inside that container we can instruct it, okay, anything that comes in, all the elements inside, divide them proportionally to cover all the line. So we can make them and go either horizontally or go either vertically. So you can apply the same behavior to the elements inside the container. So in our case, what we want to do is to have the name at the left side and then the navigation at the right side, like this. So in the first place, it means we have to make the elements display in one line. So instead of them being vertically positioned, like you can see here, so they have to go on one line. So to do that, first of all, we have to target the heading. Since we want this to have apply to all the headings, to these headers, sorry, to all our to all the headers on all the pages, then we can target the header tag like this. Then we said, okay, be a container, a display. So we change the display of the element, how the element content is going to be displayed. So we say we want it to be flexible, and we make it flex. So now when we reload, you can see, so it aligns this element with all these elements on the same line. So obviously you can see this is what we got. So we got this one like this, align the name, and then the menu aligned like this. And since the menu has other sub elements inside, it is like that. So it means at this point we also have to make the same thing. Take the menu element as a parent, so, or a container. So here is a container, or we call it the flex element. And then here too, we could make of this one another flex element. Right? There are other ways of making this happen, but I want it to be I want you to have it simple, and we don't want to dig too much. So because there are other tools you could use, like the CSS grid. So you could also use the CSS grid to make that happen, but let's take it easy. So here we work with what you call the CSS flex box. So flex box, so you can Google that and know more about it. So the flex box, right? Okay, so we do the same thing here. So in that case, we are going to target the nav element. So but this nav element, maybe we might have another nav element. You can see here, if I do it, so let's say I say nav, and then I say display flex, you will see what happens. Something happened. I'm not having it. So let's look at it. Well, display flex. Okay, it should. Okay, let me do something. Let me show you what we can do to find out what is happening here. So basically you can give it a border 1 pixel, sorry, it's red, just to see what is happening to the element, or to see is my star actually being applied to that particular element, and what is happening if it is not. So here we can see that it applies, but it seems like by saying nav display flex, it does not happen. And why didn't that happen? So let's look at the structure again. If we unfold this nav element, we can see that that nav element has only one child element, which is the UL element. So basically the flex does not show any particular difference because it's just one element. So if in order to achieve what we want to do, it's not the nav element we'll target, it's rather the UL element, because that's the immediate parent element of all these children we want to align on the same line. So this is the immediate parent of all these children we want to align. So if we could make it with the heading, or when we did with the heading, you could see that when we align, we display the header as flex, it aligned this and all this. So it considered these two children, immediate children. It did not go deep and then apply to these elements. So it is always the immediate parent and then the immediate children. So it's not the nav we are going to use, but rather the UL. So we go UL, and now we can see exactly. So it happens, it aligns them. Now you could notice that everywhere we have the UL, everywhere we use UL tag, this same star has been applied. So you see, everywhere we have it, it has been applied. Meanwhile, for now, what we are concerned about, or what we want, is only the navigation. So to make that clear that we want only on the navigation, we can specify that, okay, the UL that is under the nav tag, so the UL, the unordered list that is under the nav tag. So that's what this means. So it means find the nav tag and then find all the ULs under it and do this. So let's see what that gives. Wow, so it has reduced one, but we still have two, because of course under the navigation, if we remember, we have the nav tag there as well, so it is happening there. Now we can go again in details if we want to insist that we want that to happen only for the header at the, the nav at the header. So we can specify again, we take the higher parent and then we add. So go under the header, find the nav tag and find the UL tag under it and apply this star to it. And when we check, now it is not applying at the footer anymore. Although in our case, we would like it to apply to the footer, because definitely we will have to do that over there too. So let's eliminate this and now eliminate our border now, because we don't need that border. We're just using it to see how it goes, and that's it. So far here we can see that our list is having some dots. It is called the list star. So we would like to clear those elements. So what we will do is we'll target all the LIs, because the dots go with the LIs. All the LIs, I can even make it happen on any UL that exists on the page. For any UL, all the LIs, the list star type should be none. So we'll remove the dots. Exactly. So it also goes at the footer here. Great. Now the next thing, we can see that, okay, the name and then the menu are not really vertically aligned, right? They are not vertically aligned, or yes, I think that's vertical or horizontally aligned at the middle. So what we can do is we have to go and see their parent element, and we say align content, and then we say center. No, I think it is align items. So you can see that you have to know all these elements, all these attributes, properties, and their various values. So we use align items, and then we align them at the center, and you can see it is now aligned. Now we would like the menu to move to the other side of the page. So if we to do that, we now say justify content, and then we say space between them, space between them. So add a space between them. Boom. So it sends the other menu over there. Great. Now you can see that the menu elements here are too close to each other. So I think it is time to style it. So at this time around, we really need to be specific that we are going inside the header, and then inside the nav, and inside the UL, and then we are looking for each one of the LIs. So the first thing I would like to do is to eliminate the extra spaces each one of the LIs have. So if you go here, they are block elements, so I would like to eliminate any space, so any padding. So that's internal space is 0, and then margin is 0. Great, I am sure of that. Now what I want to do is I want to space them, and also I want to give enough space around each link, in a way that if you mouse over somewhere here, even if you don't touch the text, it should be clickable. So that's why I cleared this space on the LIs. Rather, I want to apply that space on the A. Remember, if you check the structure well, we have the li and the a. So I will do the styling on the a rather than the li, because I want the click to happen on the a tags. So I will be like, okay, for the padding, for the a is an inline tag. So first of all, I will change that nature of it. So I'll make it display. I'll make it block. So I will change into block. That's how I can be able to get some space around it. Once I change it into block, I can add some padding to, let's say, 0.5 rem at the top and at the bottom, and then 1 rem at the left and at the right. So, and we can do this. Great. So it gives us this spacing. Wonderful. So also in our design, we could see that the name is in small letters, but the menu is in capital letters. So this is the opportunity to change that. So to change it into capital letters, we do text transform uppercase. So text transform uppercase, and when we reload, we have it in capital letters. Great. So the next thing is to remove this underlines under each menu. So we saw that already. Text decoration, none. Right, come back. Great. Then the next thing is to give it some color. So let's keep it black color, and then we say black. Great. I would also like the text to look bold, so we add the font weight as bold. Great. Now we have something appealing. Great. Obviously at this point we could say we are done formatting our header, and you can see that formatting is applied on all the pages, and that's one of the beauties of having external CSS for all your pages. So you don't do too much work, you do it once and it applies everywhere. I would like to add some effect which happens on when we mouse over on the menu. I would like the menu to change its color, so, and have maybe some underlining. So what to do that, you target the A again. So we say, okay, find the A and then add the pseudo class. These are called pseudo class. So it's like an event. When the event of hover happens on the A link, what happens? Change the color. So we color it into, let's say, green. Right, you see? So when you mouse over, it will change into green. In addition to that, since it is a block element which has some padding at the bottom and at the both up and down, left and right, so maybe we can create some underlining. So we can say border bottom of that box should have a 1 pixel width. It should be solid, and then it should have the color of green, just like the color of the text at that moment. So when you mouse over, you see it brings that. But at this point you can see that it bounces a little bit. When I mouse over on it, it kind of bounces because the border did not exist, and as soon as we mouse over, that border gets inserted. It's like creating space to bring the border in where there was no space. So imagine like you power a lot of things, invisible things, but suddenly you insert another thing inside which is visible, so it will kind of push the other invisible ones and then bring that visible one up. So I hope the analogy makes sense, but basically there was no border and we bring the border in, and that's what happens. So to solve that problem, we have to give it an invisible border. So the default, the A tag here, we said it should have a border of 1 pixel solid, but it shouldn't be visible until we do the mouse over. Right, so we won't see that color until we mouse over, and now it does not bounce anymore. Wonderful. So once that is done, the next part to start is the picture we have here. But before that, I would like to underline, to call your attention on something. You can see so far our page covers all the browser screen. So in most cases, you can see that the site is kind of contained. You can see there's a limit. It does not go from the other, it does not cover the edges of the screen. So the site starts somewhere here and it varies from one website to another site. So this is usually called a contained website. So in our case it is expanded. So if you over time you start using Bootstrap, you could see these two kind of things. There you have the expanded container or flexed container, I think so, and then you have the container itself. So we could add that container. Let's see if we can make that happen. So the basic idea is to say the weight of the website or the container of the website should be at some weight maximum. It shouldn't go beyond that. So let's see what element can we use as the container of our website. So in our case, we did not add any particular container. We can see that all our elements are standing alone. It's not a problem. We could create that container class and then assign it to each one of the elements one by one, but that could be tedious, and I also don't want us to add any additional tag at this point. It might be kind of overdoing. So what we can do is we would rather add the class container to each one of this parent element, since we are actually talking about attributes and CSS. So let's do that. So we'll do it for the home page. Then let's go up here. We'll start from that container. So we'll create a class for the container. Remember, to create a class we use the dot annotation, right? So for this container, the thing we are concerned about is the width. So the width, we should make it, let's say 1200 pixels. Let's see that. Let me say, let's say 800 pixels. That's quite cool, not too small, but let make it 900. Great. So it's not bad, but now we can see that it is aligned at the left. So to solve that issue, you said margin top and down 0, and then left and right, it should automatically adjust, calculate, distribute this extra space between the left and right edges, and it should now align the page at the middle. So you can see our content seems to be contained and cleaner. So now we don't have it on other pages simply because we did not add the class container on the other pages. So that's the work we have to do. So another way to solve this problem easier would be to add a tag. Let's say we use the main tag. There's a tag called main, and that's one of the good uses of that tag. We add it to enclose all the elements, and then we give it that class. Then we now remove all these classes like this. So now the main class covers everything and it has the container. So when we reload, we go back to the home page, we can see we still have the same effect. So I think this is quite easier to maintain. So what I was trying to avoid is to add that tag in the HTML page, since we already had a structure. But I think for maintenance and clarity purposes, I would prefer in the end to go with this idea. So the only thing I have to do is copy this class and apply it to the rest of the pages right under the body tag. So we go ahead. I think this one is gone too far. Then we close the main tag here. Great. So we push it to align well, and we do the same thing at work. And we close it somewhere here. Main. And we adjust the indentation. Then we do the same thing here. Main. Then we close it here. Great. Then we can indent it again for it to look nice. So for now. Right now we can see that all our pages have that style. So let's reset the zoom, so you can see everything looks the same. So our site is coming up. So sometimes you could see that I tend to pass my mouse on the name and try to click, because in general you could see that the name of the website usually has a link, and then when you click on that link it returns you to the home page. So just like this link, so we could do that by adding the link on the name. So here you can create a link A, and then it will take us to the index.html, and then we'll bring the text inside. So I will have to copy this and take it over on all other pages. So these are updates we are having on our pages. Good. So we'll do this and we should be good. So now we should be good. So it means we'll have to have a particular style for that name as well, right? So I think maybe okay, let's have it its own style. So it is inside the header, so we can say the header, yes, header head h1, and then the A. So obviously we want to remove the decoration, text decoration, none, and then the color. What color should we use? That should be the, let's say, the primary color of the design, whatever color we choose as the primary color for the design. So let's say purple. Great. Let me try that. Not bad. Maybe we can change the color later on. So that being said, the next thing is to start the image, make it round, and so to make that happen, and at this point you could see the CSS is becoming a lot. So that's how it always happens. So always be careful. CSS can grow very dramatically and very quickly, and there are ways of writing CSS. Over time you will learn of what is called SAS or stylus. So these are actual things that are created to help in maintaining and writing CSS in an easier way, right? So and so we were talking about the image, and first of all we can see that the image is a bit too close to the navigation bar. So what I would like to do is to add some margin at the navigation, at the header. I will add some margin, so add some space under at the bottom, sorry, margin bottom. So at the bottom add some margin of 2 rem. So the rem, just see it as a unit of measurement, like centimeters or meters or so, except that this one is quite easier for me to use. I don't want to explain too much the differences for now, but if it is in centimeters I will have to write big numbers, so I don't want to write big numbers right now. So what I mean is, if I'm to write this, let's say I write 2 centimeters, or let's say pixels. In fact, so we usually know pixels on the computer world, not centimeters. We can still use centimeters, but yes, let me go with pixels. You can see the space is a bit less, so I will have to maybe make it 20 before I can get such space. So by using a 2 rem, it's quite, it can grow very quickly. So you see it's even bigger than the 20 pixels. So I think we need more space. Let's say I will use 7 rem. Good. Then now let's work on the image. So for the image, it's inside the section element. So let's go ahead. So this section, so let's go ahead. I think here let's add some comment and say header. So all this is about the header. Let's say header and navigation. So now we want to work on the section home section, or yes, let's say home section. So it is inside a section tag, and we have the img tag. So first of all, we would like to round the border, so we say border radius. The border radius should be, let's say, 7 pixels. And let's see what we have. It is quite small, so let me make it then 50%. Great. So by making it this way, we have the image rounded perfectly, right? So we want to align it. Yes, let me try this. Text align, and then we say it should go center, because so this one I was expecting it to align itself, but it didn't. So let me try this. Flex 1, then justify content center. No, so display flex. No. So that does not work, and the reason is simply the image is not like text, and there's no such thing as align an image at the middle. So the best way is to have it sound inside a container. So let's say we put it in a div, right, and then have a class for that div. Maybe you don't have to add a class, but let's say portrait, right? So we say this div is container of the portrait, which is the image. So we can say, okay, section portrait, which is the class, section dot portrait, no, rather section, okay, yes, section portrait image. We should round it, but the section portrait itself, which is the div. So if we do section portrait, we can now say text align center. So what we are trying to say here is all the elements inside this div, center them. So let's see what that gives. Great. So it's quite easier to align it this way. So far that's what I have been using to make it easier to align the images at the middle. Great. So the images at the middle, we have the biography. I think I would like this to be also aligned at the center, right in below the image. So to make that happen, we could also work on the heading one, so by making it a little bit bigger, right, so that it looks a bit different from the name which we use for the site. So we'll go to section again, section heading 1, and we have to be sure that if we say that we don't have any heading 1 under any other section on any other web page, so we have to be careful with that. So we say section heading 1. First of all, let's say since we want to target this particular section here, which is at the home page, let's give it a class so that we can make it different from any other section on other pages. So let's call it bio. Exactly, that's the bio section. So we can now specify that this section we are talking about here is the bio section. So it means it's the section that has the class bio. That's what it means here. Section that has the class bio, section that has the class bio, and section that has the class bio. So the heading should have some style. So we say font size. The font size, let's say we make it kind of 7 rem. That would be too big. Yeah, I think I like it though. Let me make it 4 and see. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and then the section bio itself, all the content inside should be aligned at the center. So the section itself, text align center. Great, something like that. Great. Right, so the next thing is to work on these numbers. Right, so for now we can see that our text is not really too fancy, but we'll come back on that aspect. We'll try to solve that issue later on. And also the spacing between the name and then the paragraph here, the power is too much, so I would like to reduce that. So to solve that problem, it is the space caused by the heading one here. So if you mouse over, you can see there's some extra space. There are some extra spaces on top and at the bottom of that heading one. So we can remove the bottom one. So that's the padding bottom. We say 0, and let's see what we have. Nothing serious, so it's not the padding, it's rather the margin. So we are like margin bottom 0, so it eliminates the margin and then carries the text along and shift it up, and here we are. So we have something. So the next thing is our social media. Not our statistics. So this, let's talk this, give this element the class of stats for statistics, so that we can be able to target it uniquely. So this one, based on our layout, our design here, so we have to align them since they are in a list, so we can target this list. So we say stats, so let's comment stats, home stats. So we say, okay, find the class stats, the div with the class stats. Under it, find the UL, and then that UL display it as a flex element so that the element will align themselves. Display flex, exactly, so they get themselves aligned. Now we'll also justify the content by giving them spaces in between. Great, so one goes left, one goes right. Now the icon, that's the I element, would like it to be big, and then we will also like it to align itself with this element. So it means we will need to display this li as a flex element so that it aligns all these elements. So let's say we do it that way. So I know it won't look like what we have, but you will understand the point. So we say also for the LIs, display them as flex elements, but we don't want the space to be in between them, just as flex, and see what we have exactly. So it aligns the icon, it aligns it with the jobs, and then the number. So let's see why it breaks. Okay, great. So because they are not vertically aligned, that's align items center, so they stay centered horizontally, exactly, so like this. So great. I think I'm feeling like I like it this way, the way it displays 133 jobs and then so on, so without having to break the jobs down. So if you want to break the jobs down, one thing we could do is to also put all these two elements in a container and then align them differently. Or since we are having them as flex element, I think that's the best option. So let me keep it like that for now. Just make the I big and see, that's the icon. So the icon, so LI, and then font size, let me make it 4, like our biggest font size so far. I'm not reloading them. Good. So we have it big. This is not the icon we are going to use, but I think we'll make it that way. So another thing we can do is to also increase the number at the same size, and the number is under H3. So we also do the same thing, and here note this, I am saying comma, Not only you do it for the I also want to do it for the H3 in the same area. So the start URL I and start URL H3 should have this size. And you can see the number becomes big. So now obviously it looks like it will be should we keep that there? You let me know, what do you think? So for now I am going to keep it there to make the work less, because we are already saying a lot and this can be really frightening at this moment. So let's say we keep it like that for now. Great. So at this point we have our page well structured, except with our footer. So our icons at the footer are not starred, though we don't have the icons yet. So let's go ahead and work on the footer a little bit. So footer section, so we check what do we have. We have a footer tag which has a navigation. So we have already started that navigation earlier on in the using the UL, the nav UL. So what we did was we displayed it flex. So we can now improve on that menu. So we say the footer. First of all, we like to add some styling to the footer. Let's say we haven't started working on the colors and other things, but let's assume we want to have a border, a line at the right on top here to separate the main content from the footer. So, and also we can see our footer, the nav, the social media icons are not aligned with the copyright. So let's look at the structure. So we have the nav and then we have our copyright. So we have to make the nav display, so the footer display as flex. So before, let's deal with the space, the border. So we say border top. So the border top should be, let's say, 2 pixels. It should be solid and then it should be purple, since we are working with purple. Great, something like that. I think we use light. What purple did I use up there? Light purple. I think I should change this color into something more obvious, right? So let me do this. Let me try tomato. Let me try tomato. It will be obvious. Yes, it is obvious. So somehow, so this is not a design class, do not laugh at it. So here we go. So we added a line on top of our footer to separate it from the main content, and I think it's looking okay. You are having a beautiful website so far. So next, we would like to display the footer as flex so that it aligns the social media icons with the copyright. So in this case, would we like the copyright to go at the right angle, or we want it to stick here? So I think I would like it to go at the right angle. So I will still have justify content space between, and I think by now you already know how to use justify content and the flex element. Wow, here we are. We have a beautiful website. Here we can see that social media icons are not spaced like we did for the navigation, the main navigation. So we could do something about it. So we go the nav URLs. So we can say nav footer nav UL A. I don't want to think about the LIs before the A, but we can jump. So we can go straight to the A and we say display block, right? Then we can add now the padding left and right. So let's say padding top and bottom 0.5 rem, left and right 1 rem to give them enough space to breathe. So here we are. So here we can see that the first element here tend to have this big space because of the padding we added. So we would like it to start right at the beginning here so that the alignment of the document stays the same. And we can even see the same event here. Let's see, let me confirm. So you can see the same thing here. I think it's okay with this one. Yes, I think it's okay here, but here we can see this extra space. This extra space here, I think it's coming from the UL itself first, so it means the UL under this nav, let's eliminate any padding or any margin. So when we reload, we can now see that it has reduced. So if we check, we can now see that the space is coming from the padding added at the left side of this icon. For now, we won't eliminate it, we won't bother about it because we haven't actually added the main icons. So when we add the icons, we'll see how that goes. So we can keep it. So great, this is wonderful. Now we have our home page structured as we designed it. So what happens? Let's check on other pages what has been affected naturally so far. So we go to the about page. You can see the container is there. It is affected as we expected. Wonderful. You can see our text is well in our container, which is looking great, and we can see our footer as well. By the way, you can see here that we need some space right before the footer, so we can go ahead at the footer here. Since we added some border top, we say margin top. You can say to rem, a little bit of space, exactly like this, so that it gives some breathing space to our main content. Let's go to the works. We see the same thing. Our header is formatted, and then our footer is formatted. What about contact? The same thing. Our header is formatted, our footer is formatted, and the content is inside the container. Looking so far great. So I was expecting to have all this formatted in one video, but I think it would be great if we stop here and we have another video to talk about the home the about page, how we can structure that and maybe add up to the works page, and then we can have the contact page formatted separately because it has some form here which might require some longer attention. So let's go to the next video and then work on the about page and then the works page. So thank you for watching this one. If you like it so far, kindly consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing it to your friends and families in your social media pages or WhatsApp groups, and don't hesitate to ask any questions or make any requests for any tutorial or any video if you want. Thank you so much and see you.